Hello everyone. So the next topic which we will be discussing here is about the chemosynthesis. So what do you mean by the term chemosynthesis? So the production of a more complex chemical compound by combining two or more simpler chemical entities or the precursors. So this is what the chemosynthesis means. It is basically a biosynthesis which is being performed by the living organisms. So in simple terms, we can say that it is a biosynthesis performed by living organisms. Performed by the living organisms. So chemosynthesis is the biological conversion of one or more carbon-containing molecules and nutrients into organic matter using the process of the oxidation of inorganic compounds or ferrous ions as a source of energy rather than the sunlight as in the photosynthesis. So chemoautotrophs organisms, they obtain the carbon from the carbon dioxide through the process of chemosynthesis, and they are phylogenetically diverse organisms as well. So the chemoautotrophs, for instance, they are the organisms that perform the chemosynthesis. They include certain groups of bacteria such as sulfur oxidizing gamma proteobacteria, then Epsilon proteobacteria. So these are some of the common examples of the chemoautotrophs. The next is about the chemosynthesis. So chemosynthesis is basically the many organisms that are in the dark regions of the oceans, which use the chemosynthesis process to produce the biomass from single carbon molecules. There are two categories that can be distinguished. So in the rare sites where hydrogen molecules are available, the energy available from the reaction between the CO2 and H2 can be large enough to drive the production of the biomass. So alternatively, in most oceanic environments, energy for the chemosynthesis derives from the reaction in which the substances such as the hydrogen sulfide or ammonia are being oxidized. So this may occur with or without the presence of oxygen. So this can be occurred with or without the presence of oxygen. So there are a number of chemosynthetic organisms that are consumed by other organisms in the ocean. And the symbiotic association between the chemosynthesizers and respiring heterotrophs are quite common. So there is a large population of animals which can be supported by the chemosynthetic secondary production at hydrothermal vents, methane clavets, cold seeps, and there is a isolated cave water in which the large population of these animals can be supported. So it has also been hypothesized that anaerobic chemosynthesis may support life which is below the surface of the Mars, Jupiter, Europa, and other planets. So chemosynthesis may have also been the first type of metabolism that evolved on Earth, leading the way for cellular respiration and photosynthesis to develop that later. The next is the hydrogen sulfide chemosynthesis process. So there are giant tube worms that use bacteria in their tropophoosome to fix the carbon dioxide and produce sugar and amino acids. So some reactions they produce 18H2S plus 6O2 plus 3O2, which gives the C6H12O6, that is the carbohydrate, plus H2 12H2O and 18S. So instead of releasing the oxygen gas while fixing the carbon dioxide, as in the case of photosynthesis, hydrogen sulfide chemosynthesis produces solid globules of sulfur in the process. So in bacteria, the capable of chemoautotrophy, such as purple sulfur bacteria, yellow globules of sulfur are present and they are visible in the cytoplasm. Now, what about the discovery? So, how this chemotrophy or chemosynthesis process get discovered? So, in the year 1890, he was the one who proposed a novel type of life process, which is called as the enegro-oxidant. In later years, in 1987, so what he did is his discovery suggested that some microbes could live solely on inorganic matter and emerged during his physiological process in the year 1880. And in the year 1897, Wilhelm he coined the term chemosynthesis for the energy production by the oxidation of inorganic substances in association with the autotrophic carbon dioxide assimilation. What could be named today as the chemolithoautotrophy. Later, the term could be expanded to include also the organotrophs, which are the organisms that use the organic energy substrates in order to assimilate the carbon dioxide. Thus, the chemosynthesis can be seen as a synonym of the chemotrophy. So the term chemotrophy, it is less restrictive because it was introduced in the year 1940 by Andre for the production of energy by the oxidation of electron donors, organic or not associated with auto or heterotrophy. The next comes is the hydrothermal vent. So the hydrothermal vent, so as you can see in this particular diagram, the microorganisms they undergo the chemosynthesis on East Pacific rice and complex fauna on hydrothermal vents with shrimp, squid and mussels. So in the year in the 90s, when hydrothermal ocean vents were predicted to exist in the year 1970, the hot springs and strange craters were discovered by Elvin, the world's first deep sea submarine in 1977. So this was basically a hydrothermal vent which was being found to undergo the process of the chemosynthesis. The next comes is the oceanic crust. So in 2013, researchers they reported that the discovery of bacteria living in the rock of the oceanic crust below the thick layers of the sediments and apart from the hydrothermal vents that form along the edges of the tectonic plates. So preliminary findings are that these bacteria subsist on the hydrogen produced by the chemical reduction of olivine by seawater circulating in small veins and that permeate the basalt that comprise oceanic crust. So the bacteria synthesize methane by combining the hydrogen and the carbon dioxide. So this was all about the part of the chemosynthesis. These are some of the references. Thank you.